2.
Welcome to Gay Fairfax, the Washington metropolitan area's only weekly entertainment magazine featuring news, views, and pride. I'm Beth Goodman.
And I'm Dave Hughes. Each week, we'll feature events and personalities of interest to the gay women and men in the metropolitan D.C. area.
On this edition of Gay Fairfax, we'll meet a representative of the Names Project.
And we'll keep an eye on what those traditional values coalitions people are up to.
The Names Project, as many of you probably know, sponsors the work done on the memorial quilt. The quilt is an everlasting testimony of the expressions of love and sorrow that those who have lost lovers, husbands, wives, friends to the AIDS epidemic are experiencing.
Ruth Eschmont is a volunteer with the Names Project, and she speaks about her involvement with the project and how to get in touch with the group.
I'm Eric Randall, and I'm talking with Ruth Eschmont, a volunteer with the Names Project's D.C. chapter. Ruth, welcome to Gay Fairfax.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Most of us know the Names Project as the organization that sponsors the exhibit of the AIDS quilt down on the Ellipse once a year. Would you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the organization and why it's so special to you?
I became involved when my son died of AIDS in August of 1988. I took a blanket that I had given him as a gift and made that into his panel. After it was put into the quilt, I completed it. I was asked to talk to the media, and at first I said no. And then I decided I had nothing to be ashamed of. I love Bob very much and was very proud of him. And so I joined the world of AIDS and became very active in volunteer work with Whitman Walker and the Names Project. And I've been at it ever since.
The Names Project, tell us what it is. What, other than doing quilts and helping people to make quilts and using the quilt as an exhibit, how can people get involved with the organization? What type of activities do you sponsor for people?
Well, it's very easy to get involved. We need many volunteers for the upcoming display this October. Right now, we have just opened a brand new workshop and educational center at 1613 K Street Northwest. We're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. We're there to help you. Anyone who wants to make a panel, if they don't have their own design, we'll be glad to help them with the design. Usually something personal about the person who has died, or something personal in the relationship is put onto this panel. We'll even provide the materials if needed, and most people do bring in their own background material. And if you don't know anything about a needle or thread or a sewing machine, we'll do it all for you, help you do it. And we ask that you write a 2-page letter, perhaps a 2-page, something in reference to the person who died and who made the panel, whether by a group of relatives or friends or co-workers, and then it is sent out to San Francisco and included in the large quilt. The panels are 3 by 6, the size of a human grave, and what we call a 12 by 12 contains 8 3 by 6 panels. And when we have the display, it's folded into what we call a blossom effect, into a small package almost. And the ceremony opening services is very beautiful. This panel is opened sort of in a dramatic way, I suppose you could say. And the 8 people opening this panel would pull it up to their chin, walk around, and place it on the ground. We have almost 20,000 panels now that will be on display on Washington Monument grounds on Columbus Day weekend this year, October 9th, 10th, and 11th, with opening ceremonies at 10 a.m. on Friday the 9th.
Now, when we were talking earlier, you indicated that the quilt is actually a number of different, or a number of large pieces that are on display in a number of different places at one time, or is it actually one quilt? I've wondered how you move this thing from place to place. Is it a small item, or is it just a number of different large panels?
No, it's a very large number of panels, 20,000 panels, and there are 8 panels in one 12 by 12 panel, a big square. And at any one time, some portion of the quilt is traveling all over the world. This year will be an international display. There will be 28 countries that will have panels in this display. It'll take 18 acres of ground to lay it out. It will take 15 hours to read the litany of names of just those that have died on the panels. We need 4,500 volunteers to help out that weekend. And of course, we can always use volunteers at our center and in many of our outreach things we do. For instance, we go to churches and schools, and government offices now are having us come in with a display and speakers bureau, and it's been very rewarding.
The shop that recently opened, you were explaining to me that it was another individual's brainchild, and that Washington is the only chapter, with the exception of the San Francisco chapter of the Names Project, that has its own. What type items are available in the shop? Is it museum, postcards type things? What exactly actually in the shop?
As the panels are completed, a single panel, we usually will place them on the wall until we have enough to go out to San Francisco. But in this shop now, we will have 2 volunteers that have been trained to make and put together a 12 by 12. But at any point right now, there are 6 by 3 panels hanging on the walls. And we have merchandise such as T-shirts and caps. We have the book, The Quilt, and we have videotapes, The Common Threads, that won an Academy Award, and another tape, We Bring a Quilt. We have posters, and we have thimbles with the Names Project on it, and there are many thimble people that collect thimbles.
Now, you indicate that you go and talk and speak with other groups, and that you are a buddy with the Whitman Walker Clinic. Is that also part of the process with the Names Project, or the volunteers for your organization? Do they also volunteer with other organizations and combine efforts?
A lot of us do, yes, but Whitman Walker is a separate entity. I just happened to get involved with them because my son had 2 wonderful buddies that just couldn't have treated either one of us any better. So that's why I joined Whitman Walker as a buddy, and I just feel that my whole life is devoted to aid services.
The people who make the panels for the quilts, you indicated that they don't necessarily have to have an idea. That's something that you all can have. Do you have people there who actually sit down and design? Can people submit an idea for a panel for the quilt, or do you all offer suggestions for panels?
Well, we offer suggestions, and of course we prefer that the panel maker do their own, the personal feeling of doing it themselves. But for instance, we have a lot of people come in that don't know a thing about a needle and thread. They've never sewed on a sewing machine, and they'll come in and sit down and start talking with us about wanting to make a panel, but not knowing what to put on a panel. We have panels with teddy bears, with tennis shoes, with jeans, with shirts, with caps, almost anything imaginable. So after we talk to them a while and they look around and they see other panels, then ideas will come to them. And most people that want to make a panel will then go ahead and design their own, and then we'll help them make it. I had a friend that we sat in Hospice of Northern Virginia shortly, a couple of nights before he passed away, and we sat there and they designed 4 different panels, deciding which one to put in for this year's display. And he's now working on that panel, and it's beautiful.
Now, you indicate you need volunteers. Where can people contact the Names Project? Tell me how people can volunteer.
All right, we have applications for the local chapter, to join the local chapter. We also have applications to join the display for October. Now, these applications have to be in San Francisco by July the 15th, and they can be obtained by either coming to 1613 K Street Northwest in Washington, or they could call us at 202-29-NAMES, and we'll be glad to send the application to them.
Ruth, thanks for joining us here on Gay Fairfax and what is a wonderful project. Thanks a lot.
Well, we appreciate your comment. Thank you.
If you're interested in lesbian and gay issues, why not join the Fairfax Lesbian and Gay Citizens Association? FLGCA is an organization of men and women that sponsors educational, social, and cultural events throughout the year. One of its many activities is sponsoring this program, Gay Fairfax, your connection for news, views, and pride.
For just $15 a year as an individual or $25 per household, you too can become a member of this important community organization. For your free copy of the latest FLGCA newsletter, write to us, care of FLGCA, Post Office Box 2322, Springfield, Virginia 22152, or better yet, give us a call at 703-451-9528.
One of the workshops that was held at the Creating Change Conference in Alexandria last November dealt with keeping tabs on the activities of the Traditional Values Coalitions. These groups of fundamentalist and other conservative right-wingers are continually working to undermine the causes of gay rights. So brace yourselves for some of the things that you are about to hear.
And remember, pride equals power, and knowledge does too. It's important that you know what they are up to and how they're trying to undermine your rights. That gives you the pride and the power to do something about it.
I've been getting a lot of questions this weekend from people who know me. They say, hey, Lori, what's with the leather? And I got to tell you that when you spend as much time as I have these past few months with the Aviat and Harriets from hell, you need a little balance in your life. The veto. Could we all just boo for just a second? Boo! Thank you. I knew that. When we introduced AB 101, Lou Sheldon, who is the point person for the Traditional Values Coalition in California, did a whole fundraising stunt through California calling AB 101 the battle line of the decade, if not the century. And a lot of people in our community said, isn't that cute? And they said, oh, they're going to go and fundraise on our backs again, and it pretty much ignored what it was that they were doing. And indeed, Sheldon did make it the battle line of the century for the religious right in the state of California. Sheldon himself is a glib, grandfatherly kind of guy. He looks like he's kind of in his 50s, 60s, white hair, and kind of soft-spoken. And he is the most incredible slime ball I have ever met. When I'm around here, my sleaze meter goes meow. He really trades on fear and intimidation. And he does very, very plays hardball kind of tactics. For example, in committee rooms, he would bring in cameras so that when the vote was taken, he would be shooting the actual recording the vote, and every legislator in that room knew that that footage would be used against them within the churches. And he did, in fact, take and make 12,000 copies of the videotape of Gay Freedom Day parades and send them to every single church that he could find in the state of California. Let's talk a little bit about their strengths. One is numbers and money, or their appearance of numbers. They send in, this is the only fringe group in America that I've found that has, everybody recognizes they're a fringe, but everything they do counts as if they're the majority, because they're mom and dad. Somehow they're mom and dad. They look like mom and dad, or Aunt Ethel and Fred. And that is something that is a real strength for them, and they play on it all the time. They have the appearance of money, and a lot of times I believe they don't have as much money as they want us to think that they do. But they certainly use that as a club against legislators as well, and acting as if they could make a major difference in a particular campaign. And I'm not sure that that's actually ever been shown when they go out to make a threat. But they're very good at putting those appearances out. Their willingness to do dirty tricks, unbelievable. Their willingness to lie, it's unbelievable. It just takes my breath away. One of the most heinous acts that they did this year in California, and definitely is going to be used in every place across the country where they think it'll work, and that is Martin Luther King didn't die for sodomy. The Freedom Train didn't stop at Sodom. And that is a wedge into the black community that is unbelievably frightening. It frightens me not only for AB 101, but it frightens me for a whole list of things. They recently did in Concord a videotape of gay parades, the most recent one in June, and they taped a float, and then they put all the guys on the float were bare-chested, and then they put screens over the lower portions of the body as if the guys were all naked on this coast, and they were all having a good time, dancing and stuff. None of the people on the float were naked. Okay, so those are the kind of tactics that we're up against, but it looked like the entire float of people were naked. One of the most horrific stories is that they got to the pastor of Assemblyman Eccles Church, okay, and really lied. They lied to these priests, and then the priests lied to people, and how do you confront lies out there by churchmen? They got Eccles priests so wound up about this issue of AB 101 that when Sunday morning came and Assemblyman Ethel and his wife and kids were there in the pews, they locked the church. He gave an hour's sermon on the evils of homosexuality and would not open the doors until every single person in that church had personally said to Ethel, vote no on this bill, it matters to me. Then they opened the doors and let the people out. I'm going to end right now just with two quick thoughts. One, as a community, we have to strike from the middle. And I believe that this means affirming ourselves, to ourselves, and in affirming our place as Californians, as Americans. And by the middle, I don't mean that just the people in the suits get to be from the middle. We have to go to America and say that our drag queens and all of our people are from the middle. We are the people who are most concerned about liberty in this picture. It's kind of like, what's wrong with this picture? And, Ma and Pa Kettle over here, they're the totalitarians. They're the wolves in the sheep's clothing. And us, we're the good guys. And I think that we need to, recognize ourselves first as the good guys. And then we need to find the words and use them. Call them the Ayatollahs of Anaheim, the Bible Nazis, the credit card evangelists, and my personal favorite, the perverts of democracy. So we have to turn that round. Marguerite Archie Hudson is just outstanding Spitfire legislator in California, took Maxine Waters' place. She said that She said, Lou Sheldon is a dangerous man, dangerous. He is a grand dragon of a new order, and he carries not the Bible in his hand, but the burning cross of bigotry. And that made the newspapers, and that's the kind of stuff that we need. We need that language, and we need that language not only for ourselves, but we need to share it with our friends. We need, in our coalition work, to make sure that people in education and other mainstream religious groups that are politician friends, and all those other places where we can build coalitions with the women's peace movements, environmentalist movements, that they have that language too, and that we're sharing strategies. So I'm going to stop and just say, like, mobilize and get ready, because it's going to happen everywhere. Their movement is exploding across the country, and we're going to have to fight this one on 1,000 fronts and 1,000 ways.
Well, that's it for this edition of Gay Fairfax, Dave.
But we'll be back again at this time next week. And don't forget to consult your local listings for other days and times that Gay Fairfax can be seen in your area.
For Gay Fairfax, I'm Beth Goodman.
And I'm Dave Hughes. Thank you for joining us, and remember to keep the pride alive.
Do you even know it's